Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellie, I am from Austria, and today I want to talk to you about summer knitting patterns. I am so glad you could join me once again. This is a bit of a different video than from my normal ones. Normally I have a podcast, but summer is around the corner. I know technically it's still spring whilst I'm filming this, but in Austria we don't have the differentiation between spring and summer. It's either really cold or really hot. That's it. So I thought I would share with you some inspiration, some knitting patterns that you could either make this year or think about it, or we can just have a chat, I guess. I have a notebook here and my iPad down here just so I can check the patterns out in case I forget what I wanted to say, and I think we can get straight into it. I have two categories because I personally don't need any more than those two, and that is tees/sleeved shirts and sleeveless tops/camisoles. So I'm going to start with the t-shirts first. And the first one is actually not out yet. It is the Toaster Tee by Rebecca Clow, the Creator Bear here on YouTube. It is such an incredible design. You can have loads of different variations. I am sure you have seen and heard about it before. It is a raglan, and the interesting thing about this design is that it is a very open gauge. I believe it is 15 or 16 stitches. Because the pattern is not out yet, I don't have all of the information, but it is literally everywhere on Instagram. You can have loads of different variations. You can have it as a plain t-shirt, you can have it with eyelets, you can have it with stripes. There are so many different things you can make with this simple tee, and I am very excited for this to come out. The next one is the Poppy Tee by Petite Knits. This also only came out a few weeks ago. This is a fingering weight design, and I believe it is a satin sleeve. I am not 100% sure of it, but it looks really good, especially in the really bright red colour that she made her sample in. It goes up to a 5XL, which we all like. So if you want like a simple t-shirt that might not really be like a raglan or a really oversized drop shoulder, I think this is a good pattern for you. The next one is also by Petite Knit. It is the Rigmore Tee. It is a DK weight t-shirt. It also goes up to a 5XL, which is great once again, and it is a raglan tee this time, and it has a really interesting lace pattern. It is very simple, but it is all over. The lace is all over the t-shirt, which I think just gives it a really feminine touch to it. It looks a bit like flowers to me, and if you want to if you want to dabble into lace, I think this would be a great pattern to start out with, because you just work with yarn overs, which is not difficult whatsoever, and I'm sure that the repeat is also maybe 4 rows or something, so not long whatsoever. Great pattern to start with. The next one is a t-shirt that I actually wanted to make myself so badly, and I've been wanting to do that for a while. This is the Salty Air Tee by Samantha Guerin. It comes in 9 sizes. It is a fingering weight t-shirt once again, but the gauge is 24 stitches. So even though you're working with a very thin yarn, I think the gauge kind of makes up for that to have it a bit looser and more airy. You do have lace here once again, but because it's all at the top around the yoke, I think the chart is not very long and it gives it a bit more interest. So again, if you want to try out some lace, I think this might actually be a really good opportunity to do it with this shirt as well. The next one, since we're talking about the lace, is a pattern that is also not out yet whilst I'm filming this, but it will be out very soon. So definitely get your hands on this one. This is the Crescendo Summer Top by the Knit Pearl Girl. Sophie has done loads of different variations with this design. It looks so good, and I actually fell in love since she posted it. It is a lace pattern once again, but it is at the yoke, and it is very, very simple once again. You only work with like yarn overs and knit two togethers, something like this. She's got loads of different variations of this. She's got some sweaters, and I think she's got some other t-shirts as well. I could be wrong on that, but this is an incredible design. It is a fingering weight, so again very small yarn weight, but it does have this really interesting lace at the top, which I think is just incredible. And then here is where the really fun bit comes in. It does have an additional I-cord edge, so you can have, instead of the ribbing at the top, the I-cord, which I prefer, and I think it looks super, super nice and very different, because most of the times you just have a normal ribbing at the top and on the sleeves. So this is something you could do as well. The next one, and now we're getting into the more complex knits, is the Piazza Tee by Sarah Nordland. I want to do this design as well. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. It is a DK weight t-shirt. You can also make it longer. I've seen people make it into sweaters by just extending the sleeve, which I think also looks really, really good. But it is meant to be a summer design slash t-shirt. It goes up to 160 centimeter bust, and it does have cables and bobbles. So if you want to have more interest with your t-shirt, it is a very good design. I think it looks really intricate, and I have heard that it's actually easier than what it looks like, which I'm sure we all love to hear. You do have a little bit of lace in the middle, but because it's a very center front panel, I'm not sure if you have it on the back. You might also have it on the back, but because of this, it gives the t-shirt a lot of interest, and I think it's gonna look really, really cool. The next one is also by Sarah Nordland. I just love her designs. This is a really, really new design. This is the Carina tee, and this also has cables. Once again, it is kind of an overall cable and ribbed design. It does go up to 181 centimeter bust size, which is fantastic, but the ease is very, very big. You have between 25 and 30 centimeters of ease. That is a huge range, so it obviously is meant to be very oversized. But once again, if you're into cables, if you don't just want like a stockinette t-shirt for summer, I think this would be a great option. It looks really good on other people, and if you want something relaxed, I think this might be your winner. The last thing that I have on my list, which is what I want to make as well, I know technically this is not a tee, but it is kind of in that category. It is the Ingrid Summer Sweater by Gregoria Fibers. I actually have yarn for this. I really wanted to make it. I know she does also have a like tank top version, but I think the tank top version, there are some issues with it. So especially with the armhole depth, people have said it is too wide, or like it goes too far down. So I think the sweater might actually be really good. Of course, you can shorten it to have it as a tee instead of a full length sweater, and it goes up to 9 sizes, which is fantastic. You do work with a sport weight, and the gauge is 21 stitches, so it's just in the middle of not having to fiddle around with fingering weights, but it's also a bit smaller than DK weight. It does have this beautiful eyelet pattern all over it. I think eyelets are really trendy right now. I personally love them a lot, and I think because of the eyelets, it is very airy and breathable, which of course you want in a summer tee. So those were all of my suggestions and pattern ideas for tees. Now we get into camisoles slash sleeveless tops. Those are all kind of in the same category for me. The first one is the twist loop top by Maya Klövdahl. I believe that's correct. I'm really sorry, I cannot pronounce these names. It is a fingering weight pattern once again, and the stitch gauge is very, very small. It's 32 stitches, which is absolutely minuscule. I've never worked something in such a small gauge, but I would also really like to make this pattern because I think it is a very interesting design. It has these gorgeous cables in the middle, and you do work in, I believe it's a 2x2 rib, I could be wrong on that, but it is a rib texture which kind of cinches the design in, which is great if you don't want to have everything super wide and loosey-goosey. The only problem with this pattern is that it only goes up to a 2XL, which we don't love, but I still wanted to include it here because I think the design is very interesting, and if people want bigger sizes, maybe she will actually consider making it into bigger ones. The next pattern is a camisole. It is the Bedruthan, I have no idea how to pronounce this, again really sorry, by Iris H, or Iris Makes as she's known for, and this is a fingering weight pattern once again. It comes in 9 sizes and it has a rib texture all over it again. But I think the interest with this here lies in the neck detail. The neck is just not a straight V-neck, it has a really beautiful edge. It looks almost like a scalloped edge, but it's not. And I think if you want this kind of staple wardrobe piece with a little bit of oomph, I think this would be a great pattern for you. The next is a fairly new design once again. It is the Oolong Tank by Amy Sher. This is a fingering weight pattern, but the stitch gauge is 25 stitches, so it's actually kind of like a sport weight, which is good because you work on bigger needles and it is looser and more breathable because the gauge is not as dense. It does have, or it does come in 8 sizes, and it is a lace pattern once again. But this is such a cool design because the lace is only around the collar and then down the middle front. Very interesting, never seen anything like it before. Such an incredible idea. It has a really beautiful leaved lace pattern, and I believe that the lace might not be as difficult as it looks like. I wouldn't recommend this for beginners, for people that are just starting out with lace work, but it is a very beautiful design that you could try out in the future. The only problem with this is because the lace panel is directly in the front, you will be able to see your bra, but you can also wear it as a vest because it is kind of a vest design. So if you just put a t-shirt underneath it, I think you would be fine as well. But bear in mind that you will be able to see through the front of the shirt. The next thing is a camisole, and it is the Golden Oak Tank Top by Amanita Agata Makievich. Really sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce this name. It is a really cool camisole. It is a fingering weight, but it has 24 stitch gauge. It comes in, or it goes up to 5XL, which again really good, and it has a really nice bottom, which is where kind of the party and the interest happens. It is a kind of not bland but not very interesting camisole from the top, but you have a really nice, I believe it's a pearl stitch, I could be wrong on that, going down all the way to the bottom, and then you have a laced edge at the bottom, which is very nice. I like these designs a lot because it gives it interest, it gives the piece some interest, and it's not just like a really basic pattern. So this would be great again if you try to do some lace but you don't want it all over the piece, but just keep it at the bottom. The next one is the Allure Camisole by Kadri. This is a very popular design. I know loads of podcasters have made this design multiple times because they love it so much. It is a fingering weight pattern. The stitch gauge is 26 and it goes up to a 5XL. I want to make this piece as well because it looks to be like a really basic wardrobe staple piece. which I think is really nice to work on when you have all of these cables and lace patterns, to just work on a stockinette basic thing to kind of have a palette cleanser. This would be a great option because I know loads and loads of people absolutely adore this pattern. If you want a little bit more interest, you can try out the Remy camisole, also by Kadri. This is a DK weight, so it is thicker and nicer to work with if you don't want to work on really fiddly things. It comes in 10 sizes and you work a 2x2 rib all over it. So if you don't just want stockinette, this would be a pattern for you. The thing with this one is the ease is actually negative ease. This is 20 to 35 centimeters. That is a huge range. 20 to 35 centimeters of negative ease to really try and cinch it in and not make the pattern way too big. So if you want more interest, you can try this one. And last but not least, if you like this design as a v-neck camisole, you can have a look at the Ellie Summer Top by Simone Ryan. She is known as Rust Knitwear here, and this is a fingering weight pattern and it comes in 13 sizes. 13, that is incredible. And you work in 2x2 broken rib. It is very similar to some other knitwear designers. For example, My Favorite Things Knitwear has designed one of those patterns as well, but because I love this one because this comes in such a huge size range and it has a really beautiful detail around the bust to really draw attention to that part of the body. It's also got a high neck and a nice V at the front, and it's just incredible. So go ahead and make that one as well. Now, those were all of my pattern ideas. I have one last honorable mention. The pattern is not out yet. I don't know when it will be. It is the Vespa Cami by the Knit Pearl Girl by Sophie. It is very similar in the design aspect to the Ellie Summer Top. It does have a ribbed texture, not broken rib this time, a ribbed texture, but the attention is also nicely drawn towards the bust, and I'm really looking forward to this design. Again, I have not a lot of information about this, but I thought I would mention it to you because I'm super excited about this one when it comes out. So those were for real now all of the pattern ideas that I have for you. There are a lot of them that I want to make myself, so if you want to see the things that I'm actually gonna make, check out my podcast. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some inspiration and some patterns that you would also like to make. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this, and I'm hopefully gonna see you next time. Bye!